Hey everyone, this is Brian White with BK2 Trading. It is about 7:03 on September the 11th, and we're just doing a special segment on the supply and demand tool that we are going to be offered through MT4. What we're looking at tonight is the supply and demand tool that is used for FXCM. Obviously, MT4 is a little bit different, so it's going to look a little bit different, but the operation of it will be the same. If you're in this room, you have been invited because you expressed an interest in purchasing the MT4 tool. With that being said, if you're not on the list as of tonight, you will not be offered this offer that's happening tonight. So anybody after tonight will not be able to purchase this at the same price that we are going to be purchasing it. Just to be very, very clear, we are going to have the opportunity to purchase this for only $50. I got him down, and so he agreed to $50, and it's a one-time fee. They're on his other platforms like TradeStation and FXCM. The tool that you're going to receive is the advanced tool, and that costs $85 a month, and he has regular subscribers to it, so we are getting a deal. That's why I told several of you guys that you don't currently use MT4, but you do from time to time. I said, get it. Why? It's one-time fee. You'll own the rights of it. There won't be any other subscriptions. It's going to be a one-time cost of $50. So it's a win-win in my opinion. And you'll see here in a moment why I like it so much. Just to give you a little bit of history from me, I took OTA courses about 4 years ago. And it was a beating. My background is I was a musician for 20 years, touring all over the world. And before that, I was in banking and finance and market. I was a Series 7 licensed guy, so I knew the markets pretty well. So I'm very, very familiar with markets. But as OTA taught me, they said that bankers don't look at charts, and they're right. We never looked at a chart. I couldn't tell you what a chart looked like. So when I walked into OTA, they said, can't you see the supply and can't you see the demand? And I had no idea what they were talking about because we never operated that way. We looked at a price, and that's what we were going. We knew it was cheap or knew it was expensive. So we never looked at a chart. So that's for the traders. Professionals don't normally look at charts. We look at price. So initially it was tough for me. Because I couldn't get the language down with the OTA, and they would say, oh, right here you can see a drop-based drop, and I'm like, what is a drop-based drop? And, oh, this is a pivot drop, and this is a rally-based drop, and all this terminology I had no clue about. So as I've taken lessons with Brendan Wendell, Keith Gibson, Tim Pessett, David Warner, I've had several of them. I went back and saw them multiple times, and even with my background of a Series 7 licensed person, it took me, 2.5 years to start making profit. Not consistently necessarily, but making profit. It's been in the last year and a half, though, that for me, I rarely have a losing month. From time to time I do. I'm averaging currently over the last 6 months, 70% win rate, and averaging about 1,000 pips a month. And for me, that's plenty because I can position size. And if I wanted, I'm now a 4th grade teacher, teach social studies and science. If I get bored with that job, I can easily go full time if I wanted to, based on position sizing alone. I don't have to load up on have 3,000 pips a day. I don't have to have 100% return annualized. My goal is 30%, 25 to 30% annualized return. I'm meeting that goal. Right now, we're above and beyond that goal, so it very well could be a 50 to 60% return. We don't know what the future holds. So that's a little bit of my background because I know there's a lot of people in here that don't know who we are, what we do. This room is always free. We made it free for a very reason because, like myself, when I came off the road from music, I got involved with OTA. I jumped into Forex. They wanted me to do mastermind. I could not afford it. I had 2 kids in junior high and almost high school, and I just said I couldn't afford it. And there was really no option for any collaboration. Bader's done a great job with building a Facebook page, and I did the same. I had a Facebook page and a group, and we built that, but I found out that live trading like this was much more helpful to me. And maybe for you as well. You may like posts, That's fine too. But what I was finding early on, I didn't know quality. We kept hearing about curve analysis. We kept hearing about odds enhancers like strength, move away from the zone, how many candles are in the base. Nothing about price, though, in a lot of ways. We look for supply and demand zones. And then you had to be trend. You had to figure out what trend was. And what was frustrating to me is that trend is very subjective. Because if I switch this up, we can still be somewhat considered to be in an uptrend on this pair. But if we switch it away, subjectively, we're definitely in a downtrend. So it's all based on subjective stuff. And on my trades, in my sessions, I don't use any sort of indicator. I don't even call this supply and demand an indicator. I call it a tool. It's a tool to use in order to help me identify what's quality and what's not quality. So now, after years of doing this, I can see, quickly that I've got a nice little area right there. And it's not fresh any longer based if I go wick to wick. Now, this tool is going to allow you to do a couple of things that you won't have to do anymore. I would spend hours on this stuff. Every day, spending hours on this stuff. And I would guess and hope, is it authentic? Is it fresh? Is it wick to wick? Is it normal? Is it just a wick only? Is it conservative? Where is it in the curve? All this stuff. And I was 50-50, sometimes I'd win, sometimes I'd lose. And so I was getting frustrated, and I don't know how many of you guys are frustrated at times, but I was getting frustrated because I always seemed to get stopped out. Even if I thought I had the right zone, I was getting stopped out. I'd put my stop up here and just go just a little bit higher and then fall away. So what I found is over the years to find some tools that are not lagging. They are only tools. There's nothing on them except for one tool is ever lagging. Just let me say this. If you have a question, I'm going through this, please put it in the chat box for me. I've got it on another screen, so if you have a question when I'm getting ready to show you and how to set it up, I'm going to even show you what my setups are. That way when you get your tool, you will be allowed to. And I did not mention this. This will go out in an email to everyone that's on our list. In addition, while you wait, once you pay, he's asking us to pay $25 up front and not pay for anything until he's complete. Completion date is scheduled for October 20th. While we wait, it doesn't affect me, but it could affect you. He is offering you a free advanced tool for FXCM so you can learn how to use it. So if you don't have FXCM or you want to do what I do, I use the demo for the UK for all my charting. We will make arrangements for you to get that tool for 30 days. And if it goes longer for him to develop, then he'll continue to extend that time so you have time to play with it for a while. And that will help a lot of us as we get better. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down so you can see this. And this is our normal screen. I'm going to go over here to our indicator tool itself. I have this tool, and this is the advanced. This is the kind that you'll get. There's two types. There's basic and advanced. You will get the advanced. Many of you have already asked questions, well, how does it identify the strength away from a zone, or how many candles in a base? And this is all stuff that you can put in that fits your trading preference. The default, let me go ahead and tell you what this is. This is just the data that's loading up, not a big deal. This is all technical stuff that you won't ever want to change. This is for your tool to work. Okay, enhancements. This is what we call odds enhancers for pretty much. I have choices. Do I want an extremely strong zone? Just a strong, normal, a weak. If I have extra strong zones, those are zones that have strong moves away. It will limit the number of zones that you see on your screen. Now, some of you are very, very aggressive traders. You feel like you need to be in a trade constantly. If that's the case, you'd want to come in here and do weak, and then you do your analysis to see if it fits your criteria. Weak will provide you almost every zone that's out there, even if it's not good. I leave mine on strong. I found with my strategy that I use, strong is sufficient for us, but let me just show you extra strong so you know. And so I've got it on extra strong. We're going to show original levels. We're not going to, that's going to be your fresh stuff. It's going to be based on, now if you're a risk taker, then you're going to want to set this wick to wick, which means you want to see the whole entire zone. Otherwise, normal is the distal proximal. distance, and then you have the very conservative, just wick only. Okay, so those are the three choices that we have on this. Again, based on your personal trading style. I waver between wick to wick and normal. If I have it set to normal, I'm very well aware of the wick. Okay, and you'll hear Keith Gibson talk about the wick, and he uses SSI in the wick. So sometimes I leave it here, sometimes I don't. Number of candles to zone for zone boundaries, that's just default 10. You could change that and play with that. I've never changed it, never needed to. This candle, this section right here, number of candles in your base that you will tolerate, the default is 6. So when you get your tool, it'll be set to 6. My default, I'm going to go ahead and put to 3. Normally I have it on 2. Okay, so if I have strong and 2, it's going to be a pretty good zone. Okay, it's a way to the odds enhancer piece of it. Again, these tools right here, this area right here, you don't necessarily have to change. You don't want to make all your zones the same size. Okay, you do not want to do that. Size all should be pips, it's 10. Okay, in addition to the odds enhancers that you do, the computer is going to do a lot of things for you. So what used to take me hours to analyze each of the 20 pairs now takes me about 15 minutes a day at max, because it's already taking the subjectiveness out. It either fits my criteria or it doesn't. And so you can make it as tight as you want, or you can make it as loose as you want, depending on what you do with it. It's your trading style with your rules, but it's flexible. But it will make you follow your rules if you're following OTA, core strategy. Okay, these have to meet this certain criteria of a zone for me to even consider it. This will make you do that because it will identify those areas for you automatically. When it talks about the levels, enable levels, obviously we want that because that's the whole point of the tool. You can extend the zones. What that just means is that outside of these lines, it'll go all the way to the edge, and it'll stay there until it's been pulled off. Show tooltips. We'll talk about the tooltips here in a moment. Penetration line, we'll talk about that when you actually see it. On break, that just tells me when does this zone get wiped out, and I can change that to on close or on break. Either one doesn't matter to me. It's just I'm aware of both now. Way to draw zones. Again, I'm going to go wick to wick. You have an option here for your levels. I'm going to go wick to wick. Now, these are color preferences. That's all this is. Also, if you're doing back testing, this tool will work on FXCM, or not FXCM, but Forex Tester 3, which I use. James has provided a tool very similar to this, and it's good. If you don't want to use Forex Tester 3, you could go here and put the history to see how price reacted in the past to the zone that you're currently looking at. So if it's similar to another zone, you can find out how it reacted, how far it moved away by just clicking yes. I don't use that tool, don't need to. My strategy doesn't need it. So it's not like it's not useful. It's not useful for my strategy. I found that 65 transparency is a good thing. I use a nice bright pink, and you'll see it come up on the screen. That's fresh supply. Bright green is fresh demand. Gray is not fresh demand. Orange is not fresh supply. And obviously we're going to enable the level labels so we can know what our numbers are. So when we identify a place, we can do that. Okay, you can change your font size all you want. You can change your lines at your zones if you want to make them a little thicker so you can see the box a little bit better. In addition to this, if you have Trade Manager, this is kind of a beta version of it. I've tried to use it, don't mind it. I just have my own strategy in place already that I don't need to use this very often, but I could automatically set my supply target, my first target to 1.5 risk to reward ratio, 3.0 if I wanted to. This is what I do normally. Usually my first target with trend is 1.5, second target is 3 point, and then my last one is 6 to nothing, but I also move them when I want to. So if I want to show that, all I have to do is put yes here. So if I want to see the most recent supply zone with these numbers on it, I'll show you what it looks like. Down here, you don't need to change this. This will be your default. Okay, I'm not going to click this default because I don't use this very often, but I'm going to show you what it looks like once we click apply. Before I do that, is everybody still following me? You can put a yes in the box or a yes check mark. There's one. Okay. Anybody not following me? I want to make sure before I jump in. Now this is going to be on a recording, so you can always go back and see what I did as far as the setup. So don't get caught where you don't understand it. And those who are on Monday nights with me, they see this all the time. They don't see the back workings of all this, but they see me using it a lot. Okay, so if you're a little bit confused, hang tight. We'll make sure you have OneDrive. You can watch this over and over and over. In addition, once you purchase it, myself or Al, even James was in this morning, the developer of the tool. We will help you set it up. So don't worry about that part. We'll make sure it fits. Now you're going to need to know your rules, but just make sure they do it. So we're going to be looking for supply on this pair. I don't trade Kiwi CAD. That's why I brought it up. I have never marked up on this particular pair, so it's brand new and fresh. So I'm going to apply that, and I'm going to click OK. Right now it's still hidden, but what it's doing, it's creating my zones for me now. What I have normally on my screen is the SRV1 tool, which we're going to be developing for MT4 after we get done with this particular tool. This is a support resistance line based on Fibonacci numbers, and we'll explain that at the time later on. Show time to end, that's just your candle time, when this next candle is going to close. ATR, I like to have ATR up here to know what the movement of the candles are per day. SSI is Speculative Sentiment Index. I am a counter culture trader. If the crowd is 90% long, I want to be short. If everybody's wanting to be short, I want to be long. So I'm counter culture trader because most of the people are wrong. So if the crowd is wrong, I want to be right. So I go the opposite, and that's what this helps me with. This is the only one that you'll see on my chart when I go unhide this, is the HMA. That is the whole moving average. It's 200 whole moving average. It operates like the 50 moving average, but it kind of gives me just a visual. I don't trade off of it, don't do signals off of it, but it does give me an idea of where algorithm traders may come in. It also gives me a picture of what the current trend based on this moving average could be. So it's kind of just a confirmation. And then our supply and demand tool. So let me go ahead and unhide this so you guys can see what it looks like. Okay, so what we've done, the tool that you're looking for is the color code. This red line, green line, blue line, that's the SRV1. That's Fibonacci numbers that are standard Fibonacci numbers, and that's what I use for my trading. So let's talk about, we talked about identifying the most recent supply and my pip variance, and we'll see, I'll show you how to change that as well. And we've identified our target 1. There's our target 1. So it's automatically told me what my price is going to be. My stop's going to be at 87.19, or actually 87.20. Entry is going to be at, looks like 86.51. You also see those here on this. Pink identifies fresh supply. Orange identifies not fresh supply. And you can see throughout that we see the most recent price is downward. Down here we can go, and we can also identify a level on a level on a level. Okay, and another level on level. None of these are fresh. We don't get to fresh probably in a while for this particular pair. If it's there, it is way on down here. That's our first area on the daily chart of freshness. Okay. So that's how it looks on the color coding. Now you can change these colors to make them however you want. And these, remember, are identified as strong, extremely strong zones. Okay? And I use another tool to determine if I'm going to get in. I like this one right here, to be honest. If I was trading it, I already know where this is sitting at. Price-wise, we're sitting at an 8,700 number. We're sitting at an 8,800 number. And my bet is we're sitting at the 38. A little sidetracked here just for a quick look. I'm always a trader. Yeah, we're sitting at 38. And I use that retracement tool, not in the traditional sense, but I look and see where our zones are sitting. It's the 3850, which is a pretty good place to be. Same thing with the 61 and higher. So I really like this particular trade. We also have algorithms coming in. So I have tools to help me figure out how I'm going to enter. Now, I want to go back and show you this. Okay, we go down here to this tool here. And where is that? Wiggle room. Wiggle room pips. Okay, this cost me a lot initially. I don't like wiggle room of that little small. I like a little bit higher. It's just personal preference. Okay, and so I'm going to click yes, and it's going to move my stop a little bit further away and give me the price of that now. So now I'm up and out of the way a little bit. So this tool can help you identify your targets. Okay, I don't use it very often because I do mine just a tad bit different, but it is there for you to use. All you have to do when you don't want to use it is click No, apply it, and OK, and it won't have the targets any longer. And you can set your own targets. Okay. Now let's talk about the tools. We talked about, if you look at the show tooltips right here, I say yes. Okay. What that is that if I come over here, it tells me a little bit about the zone. Okay. Its width is 67 pips, and you can see that in the box. You can see penetration 0. Of course it's 0. It's pink, so therefore it hasn't. But you notice this little dashed line here on this zone. That is a penetration line. So when I hover over it, this one tells me it's been 41% penetrated. It's 53% wide. There's one candle in the base. Okay, and it tells me, even if you notice, it even tells me based on my account size how much position size I should have for one target. Okay, so you'll notice at the bottom it says 10 microlots. There is no way for us to keep that on longer. It is a FXCM thing, so you occasionally have to get in there, look at it real quick, and then you notice also, if you run down to about the 5th line, it says fresh, it says false. It is not fresh. We automatically obviously identified that, but that's the tooltip for you. So if you want specifics on it, what the close was or that type of thing, you got to click on the candle. But if you want to know about the zone in particular, you can just hang over. It's telling me I made my zone wick on wick. So it tells me everything. So if I go back, and let's just say I go back to my normal, very, very normal day for me, I would change this to normal, change this to normal, and it's going to change the way it looks a little bit. In addition to that, I'm going to end up going to, what I do is a 2 tolerant candle, and it may wipe out some of this here. And I'm going to go to on break, and I have nothing else here. Good. Okay, so I'm going to apply, and it should eliminate some of the stuff we had. It may verify some other stuff, but based on my trading rules and my strategy that I go over on Monday nights, this will fit really, really well with me. It still identified this one. We changed the look up here. Okay, much smaller zone. Now, if I'm trading this, I'm not trading that size, not on a 61 pip ATR. That's only 20. I'd definitely be above that, and probably in the 78 range for that one. But it shrinks things up. Now this zone's not 41% penetrated. Now it says 41 based on that, but you can tell it's not because the dashed line is there now. Okay, it's talking about wick to wick, 41% penetrated of the zone. We are now doing distal to proximal line, so it's very, very small, and that may change the way you trade. For me, if it's this small on the zone that I'm trading, I'm okay with it. Anything less than 50%, I'm okay with. If it's sitting on a Fibonacci number based on my Fibonacci that I pull up, I don't care about freshness. It makes no difference to me. And if you're in my Monday night, you'll understand why. I won't go into that right now. Okay, so right now it's high. I use this even for curve analysis. So let's just say we were doing a Wednesday night. Let me get rid of these lines. That's a long time ago. If you're using curve analysis on a Wednesday or on a weekly, what you would do per OTA is you'd find the most recent supply, most recent demand, your middle of the curve. Okay, very, very simple, very, very easy. It doesn't have to be according to OTA standards. The zone does not have to be fresh. It just needs to be a supply and demand zone. So this tells me we are middle of the curve. We are approaching a demand zone on the weekly though. If you use curve analysis higher up, it's no different. We're still in the middle. Curve analysis here, same thing. You're in the middle if you do it the traditional OTA way. I don't. I use my Fibonacci to tell me we are now low in the curve because we're below the 23, and I would expect a bounce right here. That's what I would expect. That's how I trade. My trade plan, I'll be going over that Monday night as well to show you why I do what I do. Okay. Any questions about the tools? Pretty simple. That's it's pretty much setup, coloring, what it can do. Is there anything that y'all want to know if it can do something or can't do something? It can't tell you when to trade and when not to trade. It does identify targets for you. Obviously, if I'm trying to go long on this one, I would go short here, and one of my furthest targets may be right here before this demand area. Just be understanding, if you're set normal, you may have a wick-to-wick zone, so you want to make sure you include just above the wick-to-wick zone for your targets. So it makes things a lot easier, And so when you watch, for those who go into the mastermind community, you will notice, and Brendan Wendell's been in our room a couple times, and he's seen this tool, and he thinks it's crazy how it works, because it's based on OTA stuff. So it's not, for it not to work would be kind of weird. But some of the zones that they identify in Mastermind will be the exact same zones that are identified by this tool, and maybe off a pip or two. That's it. And so I've watched the 4X XLTs, and I see their pro picks, and many times they're right on the line. The problem is some of the pro picks are in the wrong area for me. Even though they are a zone, it's in the wrong location for me to get in, so I don't take all their trades. It's not that they're not going to work, but any questions, just type them in the chat box. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to any questions about pricing, how we're going to pay. I can tell you this, as far as payment, he's asking for $25. It's non-refundable, obviously. He's going to spend some time on it. $25 up front. Once the tool is finished, it'll be $25 to finish. I'll be sending everybody a link, actually an email, that he will accept PayPal, and that's credit card. He cannot do a cryptocurrency. We've had several people ask about cryptocurrencies. Does it work better on some time frames than others, or is it? It's the same tool. It's no different. So if I go over here to my 4 hour, if I want to trade lower time frames, I can. I mean, it's the same. It's all based on your inputs. What is important to you? I like that strong 2-candle base, and so like here, it tell me it has a 1-candle base. Okay. This is going to be probably 1 candle. Okay. Let's see if there's another one I can find. That's the neat thing about going to a lower number on your candle preference. It doesn't know how to buy or sell. Okay, you have to be able to do that. Okay. Now, if you're setting your targets and you know you want to be short, that's when you come down here and click yes right here. And if you want to be long, then you can click no, and it will show you that closest zone that it recognizes. Okay, that may not be the zone you want, so that's why I don't always use this tool. But if you want a quick reference, it doesn't tell you when to buy or sell. That's based on the color. If it's pink, you want to be short. If it's with trend for me. So let me go ahead and change it. Does that answer your question? I hope it does, because it's not doing the buying and selling for you. Yes, they're based on the time zone that you're in. So these are all 4-hour levels. Okay, and I'll show you what I do here in a second. Okay, it I'm gonna put 6 candles back in there, and it's going to change the look of my screen completely. Some of those zones that were not recognized will be recognized now because basing will be allowed. Okay. Okay, so now this zone was not this zone. If you notice, when I hover over it, now it has 3 candles in the base. 1, 2, 3. To me, that's 4. But they're obviously counting this one or this one as a move out since it did go below. It's still valid. To me, it doesn't matter as long as it's a good, solid move away. Okay. When you jump from one time frame to another, there is a way, to believe it or not, or there was a way, where you could overlay the 4-hour zones on top of the daily zones. You have to load it twice. It's been so long since I've done that, I don't need to do it, but I'll show you what I do. Okay, just so you can see what happens on a Monday night. So, if I'm using this tool, which I always do, I'm going to identify, knowing that we're going to be, I'm pretending that this is saying that NZD CAD is a short, which knowing that NZD USD is also a short, and I'm assuming this will also be a short as well, so that's going to be with trend. I would identify and mark this on my daily as my aggressive entry. This would be my moderate entry, and this would be my conservative entry. Based on Fibonacci numbers, that's a good thing. So I've got my Fib tool. I'm going to go real fast through this. I've got my Fib tool here. fib tool here, and then my retracement here. These are where the lines I expect movement, and you can notice how price has reacted. It broke through, came up to the 61, fell away, come up to the 50, fell away. My bet is it's coming back to the 38 at some point, but it's also blue line's going to push it up as well. So these are my aggressive. Now, if I want to go counter trend trade, I'm assuming, because this is a big blue line, which means a strong area of support in the historical markers of this particular pair, that there's going to be a zone here. So what I do is I mark and identify my zones on the daily chart. Quickly mark them. It doesn't take much. If they're there on the daily, then I want to pay attention to them, especially if they're near a fib number. And what I do is I just quickly go over to a 6 hour, and what I do is I verify on the 6 hour. I don't drill down. I never drill down. All I want to do is see if the zones have zones on the 6 hour. My aggressive one has a 6 hour zone. We've got the back side of this one on the 6 hour, and we have this one. This one needs to be moved up slightly. And then if we go down here, we're on the back side of this zone on the 6 hour. So now I have one. The second thing I do is go to the 8 hour. I need 2 of them per my rules to confirm if this zone is valid to me. Okay. So now on the 8 hour chart, these are still the circles that I drew on the daily. I've identified the end of this zone in the beginning of our circle and the back end of this one with our circle. So this one's confirmed as a good trade for me. This one's also confirmed as a good trade. This one's also confirmed as a good trade. And now we found our fresh one. So I might consider, being that we're counter trend, I would go more conservative and I'd move it right there like this. And then I would, just for kicks, I always like to have one more. If I can get 3 zones to confirm that those are valid, that means 3 different time frames have that same strong movement in them. 1, 2, and 3. All 3 are confirmed. This one's no longer, but I have 2 here. So this one is the trade that I would make without a question. I have it on the 6, 8, and 12, and I would put my stop above this pivot. I'd enter here with a stop above. I'd make sure it's no more than 2 ATR. That's my max, and it's right at 2 ATR. Okay? Or if that's my aggressive, if I don't like that entry, I could always come up here and do the same thing. Or if I really want aggressive, this area right here, where it was once demand becomes supply, broke it, and it's going to be coming back. Per my rules, I can't take a short in this area. I have to wait for it to creep up above the 23. So it doesn't know. I guess it did not find demand zones because, no, correct. We are finding demand zones on the 12 hour. That's a not fresh one. Here's a fresh one down here. But on our daily, it's not there. That's why I say if we get through this blue line, this thing's fallen. If it goes through that blue support line, historically it's fallen quite a ways till we get down here. Okay, so we've got quite a ways. You measure that off, and that's quite the move. 500 pips away from any sort of solid. So it does give us a target way on down here. Okay, when you jump from one time frame to another, do the zones automatically adjust when you change? It adjusts to the time frame that you're on automatically. Okay, automatically. So my zones on the daily. So here's what I like to do. I like to find my zones just like I showed you on a lower time frame. I have no problem coming over here on my daily chart and throwing my weekly and see where my zones are. And I can see that I've got the back end of a fresh supply, and I've got the back end of a fresh or not fresh demand. And so it confirms. And these, look where these are falling, 61 and 38. Okay, that's on the weekly. So that's going to be a good one. How much would it cost for a TradeStation 10 version? I think he's got a TradeStation version. Matter of fact, I know he has a trade. I don't know about TradeStation 10, but the advanced version of this tool will be, I think he said $85 on TradeStation or FXCM normally. And he's got users. So we are going to be getting the MT4 version. We are going to be getting the advanced version. We are going to have to only pay a one-time fee. We won't have to ever pay a subscription, and any type of updates that happen, those will be added to you as well. So you will never go without. He keeps track of who purchased it. So if, for instance, you had a crash, each tool needs a key code to open it up and operate. If by chance your computer system's crashed or you ended up changing computers and you needed to upload another tool, you just contact James and he'll give you the code again, and all you have to do is log it back up and you're all set to go. Okay. Any questions? I think I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording for now. That way it doesn't get too